This is not financial advice, not legal advice, for entertainment, educational purposes only. Anything I say is my opinion. Please don't make any financial decision based on anything I say in these videos. I am not telling anybody to buy, hold, or sell MULN. I mean, I believe the management is not the best. I definitely know that the bad actors have been naked shorting MULN to debt because they can, because the SEC, the DOJ, and the FBI don't care about fraud and corruption in the market unless the 1%ers are losing because of the fraud and corruption. If the bad actors decide to rob and steal, and a majority of the people who are getting hurt by this robbing and stealing are retail investors, pension funds, and institutions that follow the rules, the SEC, the DOJ, and the FBI will practice willful blindness to the fraud and corruption. No doubt in my mind about that. I've seen that time and time again over the last 5 years. And I have come to the conclusion that the only way we can win is when their money runs out, or we get the case in front of a judge and a judge orders them to turn over the trading history. Okay? MULN has had problems over the last couple of years. And this is just my opinion. I believe the management had their bonuses set up based on things that did not benefit the shareholders. Okay, so they were all making money, but the shareholders were not making money. Something similar to AMC, not as bad, but not a good thing. But one of the main things that people weren't talking about was the MULN GEM lawsuit, because GEM was supposed to be providing financing and liquidity for MULN, and then they had conflicts over how it was supposed to be done and what was the responsibilities of MULN, what was the responsibility of GEM, and it ended up in litigation. And that litigation put additional pressure on MULN when it came to having the liquidity in order to do what they do. And these criminals, these bad actors, they took this lawsuit and used it as a reason to double down on the criminality. Because now they can claim, well, there's no financing for MULN. Their finance partner is suing them in court, or they're suing their finance partner. So therefore, it's going to go bankrupt. Let's double and triple down. We'll create billions of counterfeit shares because eventually they'll go bankrupt and we won't have to cover them. They looked at it as a savings account, or a loan that they would never have to pay back, because they kept selling shares they know didn't exist. And the SEC knew they were doing that. The DOJ knew they were doing that. The FBI knew they were doing that and did absolutely nothing. But now the MULN GEM lawsuit is over. So this is something that the arbitration was done. They have come to an agreement. So I believe, and this is just my opinion, I believe this is a positive catalyst for MULN. Am I telling you to buy MULN? Of course not. I don't tell you to buy, hold, or sell any stock. I'm just telling you that the fact that this lawsuit has come to an end is positive for MULN. Is it going to stop the naked shorting? Of course not, because these bad actors are so deep in the play with their counterfeit shares that they cannot let MULN go back up. They got to keep doubling and tripling down and digging the hole deeper, because if MULN runs, a lot of them are probably going to end up in handcuffs, because it's going to expose the fraud and corruption in the play. And there's brokers who are down with this, and there are market makers who are down with this. There are probably banks also. But here's the thing. The MULN lawsuit is going to get to the discovery phase. And when it does, and these bad actors have to turn over that trading history, got to turn over those blue sheets, the SEC, the DOJ, and the FBI are going to be shamed into doing their job, because I believe the trading history, the blue sheets of MULN, is going to have overwhelming evidence of fraud and corruption. And that is why they are fighting tooth and nail not to turn over that trading history. And I've said this multiple times. If you are being sued and you're claiming you didn't do it, and all you have to do to end a lawsuit is just turn over the evidence that you didn't commit the crime, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, there's a lot of criminals, when they have evidence that they didn't commit the crime, they have an alibi. They can show they were in a different location. They get that to the DA right away because they don't want to go to trial. They don't want to waste money on attorneys. They submit that evidence to the court to let the courts know that they could not have been engaged in that criminal activity. But not these bad actors naked shorting AMC, GME, MULN, NWBO. No, MMTLP, no. They're not turning over the evidence to show the courts that they are innocent of these charges. They are fighting tooth and nail not to turn it over. And you know why? Because they're culpable. Because they're culpable in the fraud and corruption. And the SEC knows it. The DOJ knows it. The FBI knows it. Anyway, please leave some comments. Tell me what you think. Do you think that the MULN and GEM lawsuit being finalized is a positive catalyst for MULN? Anyway, have a great day. God bless. And I appreciate y'all on this journey with me.